Life can be hard. Sometimes it feels like a storm is raging all around us. Do you ever feel lost and alone? Do worries and fears keep you awake at night? We all face difficult times, but there is hope. There is a refuge, a safe place we can run to. Sarah felt overwhelmed. She had lost her job, her car needed expensive repairs, and her young son was sick. She felt like she was drowning in problems. One day, while reading her Bible, she came across Psalm 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. These words gave her a glimmer of hope. She realized she wasn't alone. God was with her, ready to help. Psalm 46 was written during a time of great turmoil and uncertainty. The people of Israel were facing threats from enemies and natural disasters. They were afraid, but in the midst of their fear, they remembered God's faithfulness. They declared that He was their refuge, their safe place. God is not a distant deity who is unconcerned with our problems. He is an ever-present help. This means He is always with us, ready to help us no matter what we're going through. We don't have to face our storms alone. Psalm 46 verse 10 tells us to be still and know that I am God. When life feels chaotic, it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of our emotions. But God calls us to be still, to quiet our hearts and minds, and to remember who He is. He is God, and He is in control. Knowing that God is our refuge doesn't mean our problems will magically disappear, but it does give us the courage to face them. We can face the unknown with confidence, knowing that God is with us every step of the way. God is our refuge and strength is more than just a nice verse. It is a promise. It is a promise that we can cling to when life gets tough. No matter what storms we face, we can find peace and security in Him. Have you experienced God's faithfulness in your own life? Share your story. Your testimony can be a source of encouragement and hope to others who are going through difficult times. If you are feeling lost, alone, or afraid, turn to God. He is your refuge, your strength, your ever-present help in trouble. Trust in Him, and you will find peace even in the midst of the storm. Let me share a story of Jane, a single mother of two who faced a financial crisis that seemed insurmountable. Jane worked 2 jobs, but still struggled to make ends meet. Bills piled up, and the threat of eviction loomed over her head. Every day felt like a battle, and she often cried herself to sleep, wondering how she would provide for her children. One particularly tough night, Jane found herself on her knees praying fervently for a miracle. She opened her Bible to Psalm 46 and read the words, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." She decided to trust these words and surrender her worries to God. The next morning, Jane felt a strange sense of peace. She received a call from a friend who offered her a part-time job that she could do from home, allowing her to spend more time with her children. Soon after, her church community, learning of her struggles, started a fundraiser that helped her pay off some of her debts. Jane's situation didn't change overnight, but her perspective did. She found refuge in God's promise and strength in her faith. Through prayer and the support of her community, Jane navigated her financial crisis with newfound courage and hope. So, if you find yourself in a similar storm, remember Jane's story. Trust in God, lean on your faith, and know that you are not alone. God's presence will guide you through, providing peace and refuge even in the darkest times. Let's meet Mark, a young man in his early 30s whose life took an unexpected turn when he was diagnosed with a severe autoimmune disease. Mark was an active individual, always on the go, passionate about his career and hobbies, but the diagnosis hit him like a ton of bricks. He was forced to quit his job, and his once energetic body now felt like a prison of pain and fatigue. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Mark struggled with the side effects of his medication and the emotional toll of his condition. Depression and anxiety became his constant companions. He felt isolated, misunderstood, and burdened by the uncertainty of his future. One sleepless night, Mark found himself staring at the ceiling, questioning his purpose and the reason for his suffering. In his despair, he remembered his grandmother's words, "When life feels impossible, turn to God." With a heavy heart, he picked up his Bible and opened it to Psalm 46. The words, "Be still and know that I am God," resonated deeply within him. Mark decided to lean into his faith. He began each day with prayer, asking God for strength and guidance. He joined a support group at his church where he found solace in the stories of others who were also battling health issues. Their testimonies of faith and resilience ignited a spark of hope within him. Over time, Mark noticed a shift in his perspective. While his physical condition remained challenging, his spirit grew stronger. He started volunteering at the church, helping others in need, and found a sense of purpose that transcended his illness. His faith became his anchor, providing him with a peace that surpassed understanding. Mark's journey was not easy, and his health struggles did not vanish. But through his unwavering faith and the support of his community, he discovered a profound strength within himself. He learned to trust in God's plan, finding joy in small victories and moments of grace. Mark's story reminds us that even in the face of debilitating health crises, we can find strength and hope through faith. No matter how bleak the situation may seem, God's presence offers a refuge and a source of unending strength. So if you or someone you know is grappling with a health crisis, remember Mark's journey. Cling to your faith, seek support, and trust that God is with you every step of the way. Let's meet Sarah, a woman in her late 20s who thought she had her life all figured out. She was in a long-term relationship with her college sweetheart Alex. They had plans to get married, buy a home, and start a family. But life took an unexpected turn when Alex confessed he had been unfaithful. Sarah's world shattered. The trust she had built over the years was broken, and she felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal and hurt. She couldn't understand why this was happening to her. Nights were filled with tears, and days felt like an endless cycle of pain and confusion. Sarah questioned her worth and struggled with feelings of inadequacy and rejection. In her darkest moments, Sarah remembered the words of her pastor, "When you face trials of any kind, turn to God for strength and courage." With a heavy heart, she opened her Bible to Psalm 34:18. "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Sarah decided to lean into her faith. She began each day with prayer, asking God for the courage to face her situation. She joined a women's support group at her church, where she found comfort in the shared experiences of others who had faced similar struggles. Their stories of healing and resilience inspired her. Over time, Sarah noticed a transformation within herself. While the pain of Alex's betrayal lingered, her spirit grew stronger. She started focusing on her personal growth, rediscovering her passions and interests. She volunteered at a local shelter, helping other women who were going through difficult times. This act of service brought her a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Her faith became her anchor, providing her with a peace that surpassed understanding. Through prayer and the support of her church community, she found the courage to forgive Alex and release the bitterness that had weighed her down. This act of forgiveness was not about condoning his actions, but about freeing herself from the chains of anger and resentment. Sarah's journey was not easy, and healing took time, but through her unwavering faith, she discovered a profound strength within herself. She learned to trust in God's plan, finding joy in small victories and moments of grace. Her relationship with God deepened, and she found confidence in His love and guidance. Sarah's story reminds us that even in the face of relationship crises, we can find courage and hope through faith. No matter how heart-wrenching the situation may seem, God's presence offers a refuge and a source of unending strength. So if you or someone you know is grappling with a relationship crisis, remember Sarah's journey. Cling to your faith, seek support, and trust that God is with you every step of the way. Let's meet David, a man in his early 30s, who was always known for his ambition and drive. On the surface, he seemed to have it all: a successful career, a loving family, and a wide circle of friends. But beneath the facade, David was battling an invisible enemy: anxiety and depression. The pressure to maintain his success and the expectations he placed on himself began to take a toll on his mental health. He struggled with sleepless nights, racing thoughts, and an overwhelming sense of dread that seemed to follow him everywhere. David's days were filled with a constant battle against his own mind. Simple tasks felt insurmountable, and he found himself withdrawing from the people he loved. He felt isolated in his pain, convinced that no one could understand the turmoil raging within him. The weight of his struggles became unbearable, and he reached a breaking point where he knew he needed help. In his desperation, David remembered a sermon he had heard about finding peace in God's presence. He decided to turn to his faith, hoping to find some semblance of calm amidst the chaos. He began by reading Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." These words resonated deeply with him, offering a glimmer of hope. David started incorporating moments of stillness into his daily routine. Each morning he dedicated time to prayer and meditation, seeking God's presence and guidance. He found a quiet corner in his home where he could sit in silence, focusing on his breath and inviting God's peace into his heart. At first it was challenging to quiet his mind, but with persistence he began to experience moments of true stillness. He also reached out to a Christian counselor who helped him navigate his mental health struggles through a faith-based approach. Together, they explored the root causes of his anxiety and depression, and David learned coping strategies that aligned with his beliefs. The counselor encouraged him to lean on his faith, reminding him that he was never alone in his battles. David's church community played a crucial role in his journey. He joined a support group where he could share his experiences without fear of judgment. The group members prayed for one another, offering encouragement and understanding. Their collective faith created a safe space where David felt seen and supported. Over time, David noticed a transformation within himself. The anxiety that once consumed him began to recede, replaced by a profound sense of peace. He learned to surrender his worries to God, trusting that He was in control. The words of Philippians 4:6-7 became his mantra. "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." David's journey towards finding stillness in God was not linear. There were days when the anxiety would resurface, but he now had the tools and faith to confront it. His relationship with God deepened, and he discovered a resilience within himself that he never knew existed. David's story is a testament to the power of faith in overcoming mental health struggles. It reminds us that even in the darkest moments, God's presence offers a refuge and a source of unending peace. If you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis, remember David's journey, seek stillness in God's presence, reach out for support, and trust that God's peace is always within reach. In the serene town of Cedarville, nestled by the mountains, lived a young woman named Emily. Her life was simple but fulfilling. She had a cozy home, a loving husband, and a small garden that she tended with care. Cedarville was known for its tranquility, a place where everyone knew each other and life moved at a gentle pace. One summer, the unthinkable happened. A fierce wildfire broke out in the surrounding forests, quickly spreading towards the town. The sky turned an ominous shade of red, and the air was thick with smoke. Panic gripped the residents as they scrambled to evacuate. Emily and her husband John packed whatever they could in a hurry and fled their beloved home, unsure if they would ever see it again. As they drove away, Emily's heart was heavy with fear and uncertainty. The fire was relentless and the news reports were grim. They found temporary shelter in a community centre miles away from Cedarville, but the anxiety of the unknown weighed heavily on them. Emily felt a deep sense of loss and helplessness. The life they had built together seemed to be slipping away in the face of nature's fury. In the midst of this chaos, Emily turned to her faith for solace. She remembered the words of Psalm January 2nd, 91, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust." These verses became her anchor, a source of strength in the storm. Emily and John joined a prayer group at the community centre where they found comfort in the collective faith of others who were also affected by the disaster. They prayed for protection, for the safety of their home, and for the strength to endure whatever lay ahead. The support from their faith community was a beacon of hope, reminding them that they were not alone in their struggles. Despite the uncertainty, Emily made it a point to find moments of stillness each day. She would sit quietly, reflecting on the goodness of God and the blessings in her life. She found peace in the simple act of breathing, trusting that God was in control. The words of Isaiah 41:10 echoed in her heart, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Days turned into weeks, and the firefighters worked tirelessly to contain the blaze. Emily and John clung to their faith, drawing strength from the promises of God. They leaned on each other, finding comfort in their shared belief that God was their refuge. Eventually, the fire was brought under control and the residents of Cedarville were allowed to return. As Emily and John drove back, their hearts were filled with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. When they arrived, they found their home standing, untouched by the flames. Tears of gratitude filled their eyes as they realized the magnitude of the miracle they had witnessed. Emily's journey through the wildfire taught her the profound truth of finding peace in God amidst life's fiercest storms. Her faith had been a fortress, providing security and hope when everything else seemed uncertain. She learned that while the world around her may be unpredictable, God's presence is a constant, unwavering source of peace. If you or someone you know is facing a natural disaster, remember Emily's story. Trust in God's refuge, lean on your faith community, and find solace in the knowledge that God is always with you, guiding you through the storm. In the bustling city of Metropolis, there lived a man named David. He was a dedicated professional, working tirelessly in the corporate world for over a decade. David had always been driven, climbing the ranks and achieving career milestones that many could only dream of. He had a loving family, a beautiful home, and all the trappings of success. But beneath the surface, David felt an increasing sense of emptiness and dissatisfaction. One day, the unthinkable happened. David was called into his manager's office and informed that the company was downsizing. His position was being eliminated. The news hit him like a ton of bricks. How could this be happening? He had given everything to his job, and now it felt like his world was crumbling. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty and anxiety. David struggled with feelings of inadequacy and fear about the future. He sent out countless resumes, attended numerous interviews, but nothing seemed to materialize. The rejection letters piled up and his confidence took a severe hit. He felt lost, as if his identity was tied solely to his career, and now that it was gone, he didn't know who he was anymore. In his desperation, David turned to his faith. He remembered the words of Jeremiah 29:11. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." These words became a lifeline for David, a reminder that God had a purpose for him beyond his career. David began to spend more time in prayer and reflection, seeking God's guidance. He joined a support group at his church where he found comfort in sharing his struggles with others who were also facing career challenges. The group prayed together, encouraged one another, and shared stories of how God had provided for them in the past. One evening, during a particularly low moment, David stumbled upon a verse in Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. This verse resonated deeply with him. He realized that he had been trying to navigate his career crisis on his own, relying on his understanding and efforts. It was time to trust God fully and submit his plans to him. With a renewed sense of purpose, David decided to explore new opportunities that aligned with his passions and values. He volunteered at a local non-profit organization, using his skills to help those in need. This experience opened his eyes to new possibilities and ignited a passion for serving others. Through networking and prayer, David eventually landed a job at a company that valued his skills and shared his commitment to making a positive impact. The journey had been challenging, but it had brought him closer to God and helped him discover a deeper sense of purpose. David's career crisis taught him the profound truth of finding refuge in God amidst life's uncertainties. His faith had been a guiding light, providing direction and hope when the path seemed unclear. He learned that while his career was an important part of his life, his identity and worth were ultimately found in God. If you or someone you know is facing a career crisis, remember David's story. Trust in God's plans, lean on your faith community, and find solace in the knowledge that God is always with you, guiding you towards a future filled with hope and purpose. In a quaint suburban neighborhood, there lived a woman named Sarah. She was a devoted wife and mother of 3 children. Sarah's life seemed picture-perfect until her family was hit by an unexpected storm. Her husband, Mark, had been diagnosed with a severe illness that required extensive treatment. The news was devastating, not just for Mark, but for the entire family. The initial shock was followed by a whirlwind of hospital visits, medical bills, and an overwhelming sense of uncertainty. Sarah found herself struggling to balance her job, care for her children, and support her husband through his treatments. The stress began to take a toll on her, both physically and emotionally. She felt isolated despite being surrounded by people who loved her. One evening, as Sarah sat alone in the hospital waiting room, she felt an overwhelming wave of despair wash over her. She reached into her bag and pulled out her Bible, opening it to Psalm 34:18. "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." These words brought her a glimmer of hope. She closed her eyes and prayed, asking God for strength and guidance. Sarah's faith became her anchor. She started to lean more on her church community, sharing her struggles during prayer meetings and receiving emotional and spiritual support. Friends and family members rallied around her, offering practical help like preparing meals, babysitting, and even assisting with medical expenses. One Sunday, the pastor preached on the story of Job, a man who faced unimaginable suffering yet remained steadfast in his faith. The message resonated deeply with Sarah, reminding her that even in the darkest times, God was present and working in her life. She began to see her challenges not as insurmountable obstacles, but as opportunities to grow closer to God and strengthen her family's bond. Mark's illness brought the family together in ways they had never experienced before. They began to pray together daily, finding solace and unity in their faith. The children, who initially struggled to understand their father's condition, found comfort in their church's youth group, where they met other kids facing similar challenges. Sarah also discovered the power of gratitude. She started a journal, noting down daily moments of joy and blessings, no matter how small. This practice shifted her focus from the difficulties they were facing to the goodness that still existed in their lives. Over time, Mark's treatment began to show positive results. While the journey was far from over, the family felt a renewed sense of hope and resilience. They had faced the storm together, fortified by their faith and the unwavering support of their community. Sarah's story is a testament to the strength that can be found in God during a family crisis. When life feels overwhelming and the future uncertain, remember that you are not alone. Lean on your faith, reach out to your community, and trust that God is with you every step of the way, providing the strength and unity needed to overcome any challenge. If you or someone you know is experiencing a family crisis, take heart in Sarah's journey. Let your faith be the foundation upon which you find strength, and know that God's love and support are ever present, guiding you through the storm. In a small town nestled between rolling hills, there lived a man named David. He was known for his warm smile and generous heart. David had built a life filled with love and laughter with his wife Emily and their young daughter Lily. Their days were filled with simple joys, picnics in the park, bedtime stories, and weekend adventures. Then, one winter's night, tragedy struck. Emily was involved in a car accident and passed away. The news shattered David's world. The love of his life, his partner, and Lily's mother was gone. The days that followed were a blur of grief and disbelief. David found himself struggling to breathe under the weight of his loss. He felt an overwhelming sense of emptiness and despair. Every corner of their home was a painful reminder of Emily's absence. Lily's innocent questions about her mother's whereabouts broke David's heart even further. He felt lost, unable to navigate his grief while also trying to be strong for his daughter. One night, as David sat alone on the couch, tears streaming down his face, he reached for the Bible that Emily had always kept on their bedside table. He opened it to Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." These words felt like a lifeline in his darkest hour. David began to pray, pouring out his heart to God. He asked for the strength to face each day and the courage to move forward. Slowly, he started to find solace in his faith. He reached out to his church community, sharing his pain and receiving their support. They rallied around him and Lily, offering a shoulder to cry on and helping hands for everyday tasks. The pastor introduced David to a grief support group within the church. There, he met others who had experienced similar losses. Their stories and shared faith helped him feel less alone. He started to see that despite his immense pain, there was a path forward. One Sunday, the pastor preached about the story of Lazarus, emphasizing Jesus' compassion and power over death. The message resonated deeply with David, reminding him that even in the face of loss, God's love and comfort were ever present. He began to see his grief as a journey, one that he didn't have to walk alone. David also found healing through small daily acts of remembrance and gratitude. He and Lily started a new tradition of lighting a candle for Emily each evening, sharing memories and expressing their love for her. This ritual helped them feel connected to her and brought a sense of peace. As time passed, David discovered that his faith had become a wellspring of courage. He found the strength to rebuild his life, honoring Emily's memory while also embracing the future. He saw God's hand in the support of his friends, the kindness of strangers, and the moments of unexpected joy. David's story is a testament to the courage that can be found in God during personal loss. When the pain feels unbearable and the future uncertain, remember that you are not alone. Lean on your faith, reach out to your community, and trust that God is with you every step of the way, providing the comfort and strength needed to heal and move forward. If you or someone you know is experiencing a personal loss, take heart in David's journey. Let your faith be the foundation upon which you find courage, and know that God's love and support are ever present, guiding you through the storm. In the bustling city of New York, there lived a woman named Sarah. She was a successful marketing executive, known for her dedication and hard work. Sarah's life was a whirlwind of meetings, deadlines, and constant pressure to perform. She thrived on the adrenaline and the sense of accomplishment that came with her job, but over time the stress began to take its toll. Sarah started experiencing severe anxiety, sleepless nights, and a constant feeling of being overwhelmed. She found herself snapping at her colleagues and feeling distant from her friends and family. The joy she once found in her work was replaced with dread and exhaustion. Sarah knew she needed a change, but she didn't know where to start. One evening, after another grueling day at work, Sarah decided to take a walk to clear her mind. She wandered into a small, quiet church she had passed by many times but never entered. The serene atmosphere and the soft glow of the candles immediately brought a sense of calm. Sarah sat down in one of the pews, closed her eyes, and took a deep breath. In the stillness of that moment, she felt a gentle nudge to open the Bible that was placed in front of her. She randomly opened it to Psalm 46:10. "Be still and know that I am God." These words resonated deeply within her. Sarah realized that she had been trying to control every aspect of her life, leaving no room for God's guidance and peace. That night, Sarah began a new practice of setting aside time each day for stillness and prayer. She would wake up early in the morning before the chaos of the day began and spend time in quiet reflection, reading scripture and journaling her thoughts and prayers. This became her sanctuary, a time to disconnect from the noise and reconnect with God. As she continued this practice, Sarah noticed a profound change within herself. The anxiety that once gripped her heart began to loosen its hold. She felt a sense of peace that she hadn't experienced in years. The problems and pressures of her job didn't disappear, but she found that she could face them with a newfound sense of calm and clarity. Sarah also sought support from her church community. She joined a small group where she met others who were also seeking stillness in their busy lives. They shared their struggles, prayed for each other, and encouraged one another in their faith journeys. This community became a source of strength and accountability for Sarah. One Sunday, during a sermon about the importance of rest and Sabbath, Sarah felt a deep conviction. She realized that she needed to prioritize rest and trust in God's provision. She made a conscious decision to set boundaries at work, delegate tasks, and take regular breaks. She even started to observe a weekly Sabbath, dedicating a day to rest and spiritual renewal. Over time, Sarah's life transformed. She found that by surrendering her stress and seeking stillness in God, she was able to navigate her demanding job with a sense of peace and purpose. She became more present with her loved ones, more compassionate towards her colleagues, and more attuned to God's presence in her everyday life. Sarah's journey is a powerful reminder that in the midst of stress and chaos we can find stillness in God. When life feels overwhelming, take a step back, breathe, and remember that God is in control. Trust in His peace, seek His presence, and let Him guide you through the storm. If you're going through a stressful period, take heart in Sarah's story. Make time for stillness, lean on your faith, and know that God's peace is always within reach. By finding tranquility in Him, you can face any challenge with a calm and steadfast spirit. In the year 2020, the world faced an unprecedented global crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic. Among the countless individuals affected, there was a man named David. David was a small business owner in a bustling city running a family-owned cafe that had been passed down for generations. His cafe was more than just a business. It was a place where the community gathered, shared stories, and found comfort. When the pandemic hit, David's world was turned upside down. The cafe doors had to close, and the once vibrant space was now eerily empty. Financial worries loomed large as bills piled up and income dwindled. David felt an overwhelming sense of fear and uncertainty. He worried about his employees, his family, and the future of the business he had worked so hard to build. David's anxiety grew with each passing day. He felt helpless and isolated, uncertain of how to navigate the storm that had engulfed his life. One evening, in a moment of desperation, David turned to his faith. He had always believed in God, but in the busyness of life, he had often neglected his spiritual practices. Now, with nowhere else to turn, he found himself on his knees, praying for guidance and peace. He opened his Bible and stumbled upon Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, Present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. These words struck a chord deep within him. David realized that he had been carrying his burdens alone, trying to control what was beyond his control. David began to incorporate daily prayer and meditation into his routine. Each morning he would sit in the quiet of his home, pouring out his worries to God and seeking his peace. He also started to connect with his church community through online services and virtual prayer groups. These connections provided him with a sense of solidarity and support, reminding him that he was not alone in his struggles. As the pandemic continued, David found creative ways to adapt his business. He started offering takeout and delivery services, reaching out to his loyal customers through social media. The support from the community was overwhelming. People rallied behind him, ordering meals and leaving encouraging messages. David saw this as a testament to God's provision and the power of community. Through his faith, David found the strength to face each day with hope and resilience. He learned to trust in God's plan, even when the future seemed uncertain. The peace he found in his spiritual practices became a source of comfort and stability. David's story is a testament to the power of faith in the face of global adversity. If you are facing a global crisis or any overwhelming situation, remember David's journey. Turn to your faith, seek God's peace, and lean on your community. In the midst of uncertainty, God's presence can provide a sense of calm and hope. Trust that He is with you, guiding you through the storm and offering a peace that transcends all understanding.